Am I audible? Do I sound like you can hear me clearly? Why can't you see me?
I can't see you too well, but I can hear you.
Wave your hand. Yes, I see you move. I see you move. It worked. Nobody moved. Nobody moved from wherever they are. Everybody, all of you are in the right place.
Okay, so welcome to take 5, which is with Siddharth Kulkarni. We went to school together. He's a self-taught rapper, poet, drummer, actor, director, voice actor, amongst many, many other things. The idea of Stories with Shastri is very simple. We talk to each other, tell each other stories from our own lives, try to learn something from each other, try to learn something from you if you have anything to say. Yeah, so that's pretty much it, and I'm just waiting for it to get online. Oh yeah, I see you.
You see me? Oh yeah, finally. There we go. Nice. I just to be fairly honest, I did like the Indian trick. You just move around and you say, "Ab suna idhar hai kya? Ab suna idhar hai kya?" That happened, and it just came around. I mean, I don't know how it happened, but hey, hi, how are you?
Hi.
And
Good.
hello to all of the 15, 16 people who are out here. Restart the live session. Is that it? What one?
Glad to start. I'm very
I
glad
know.
to start with that.
Same. I kept gibbering some shit, in the meantime. So I think that's what held them together. Or maybe it was you. Can you still see me proper? Because, this is a room where there's not too many disturbances.
Yeah.
Yes, hello, Prithvi. Hello, everybody else. Yeah. Fine.
To explain to people what we're doing is, I thought of this concept where my friend helped me think about it actually, and I basically talk to people and try to get to know a little more about their life and their stories, and let's be nice in the comment section and let's talk to each other about everything. If you have any questions, if you have any pointers or any views about all the things you hear us say or all the stories you hear us talk about, we're going to read them out and figure it out. So, Siddharth, you are a self-taught poet. You're a rapper. You're a voice actor. You're a director. You're an actor. You're a drummer. You're a writer. I said writer already. What am I missing? Which one am I missing?
It doesn't matter, even I lost count. But yeah, you're on the right track, yeah, pretty much.
So, when and why did you decide to become your own teacher?
Hey man, you talking like as if I had some choice in that. Shit, no, I mean, nahi tha koi aaju baaju mein waisa ढंग का सिखाने वाला बोले से इसके लिए सीख लिया. I mean, in all fairness, I mean, what is learning? Yeah, you grab a little bit of something that you see around you and you like, and you just pull it into yourself. You try imbibing it into what you do, and and once you can slowly start doing it, say, oh yeah, so I learned this. So that's per se that's taught. Same process that follows over years. Then it creates this sort of it makes it seem as if someone really taught themselves a lot. But essentially, I think it's just a lot of whimming.
So you worked with TVF, correct?
Yep.
And how long ago was that?
4 years. 4 years ago.
And how long were you working for them?
For about a year. Basically, when I went there, I was going in indefinitely. The idea was to go and work with TVF because they made this thing pictures. I mean, one of the best series that this country has produced, in my opinion. And after watching that, I was like, obviously, I want to go and work with them. I did go and talk to them. They liked what I was doing, so I went and met them. And I started working for them. But the day I started working was when I got my approval for the Prague Film School. So I had applied there for a 2-year-long direction course. And literally my first day in TVF was on the evening, I got an email from Prague saying that you're accepted, so you're in. So that's what decided my timeline. So I had to leave July of next year. And so I worked until June, essentially. That's such.
What made you decide that it was time to let go of TVF?
No, as I said, my timeline was decided. So, like when I was going to Prague Film School, obviously I had to get out of TVF. So TVF में बता दिया मैंने eventually that I'm admitted to the school, so I'm going to leave. So, like I worked till a couple of months before I had to leave, and then I did 1 month offshore. So I used to literally like, okay, this is an interesting story with Shastri. I used to sit over here in my room and edit the videos in Mumbai. So there's this app called TeamViewer. So I used to sit over here and access the screen from there. And so वहाँ पे the computer used to be on the whole night. And over here I would be editing over there, essentially. And that's how a lot of the videos got done because I was heading a new channel there. It's called Fanta Curry. Okay, so that's like the infotainment channel of TVS. So I was heading that channel, creative director of that. So it became like that was one of the best things I did with TVS, honestly, because in the otherwise there are so many people over there, amazing people and amazing experiences. But with so many people, it's difficult to say, okay, manage this, or like even just the feeling to yourself that okay, I've done something quite strong and worthwhile. So that was how it automatically just fizzled out. Fizzled out as in it went away because I had to go, but then I never went. So
Why didn't you?
because of my dog, my beautiful tiny little dog. Oh,
How's your dog now?
he's phenomenal. He's hating the quarantine because he cannot go walking, like chilling outside and all that. I mean, because I'm in one of the more shishta parts of Pune, the kind of like people around here who go like, "Hey, Karana hai, bahar hai, apne घर पे नहीं है करके." So morning walk, evening walk तो बनता है, cricket खेलना बनता है. Like all of these things are happening out in the gully. I don't go any near any of this. No, but he's doing great. He's over 15 now. And yeah, like we celebrate our birthday together. So this year he became 15, and I think he's healthier than ever. Like in a few ways, he's a little, but that's just older. Baki, yeah, you have to look at his spirit. Papa still jumps around. Acoustic is still bay, and everything is going around in this way as if people come in and go like, okay, so you got like 6, 7, 8, what tops 10 tops. Nobody guesses 50. So I mean, like it's one of the best decisions ever. To not go to Prague for him.
Yeah. I remember meeting him and he was absolutely lovely. Do you travel with him?
Nah,
You've never traveled
that's
with
the one thing I cannot do. Like he can't take too much long distance travel, and most of the places that I go like by myself.
him.
So like by myself in the sense that I want to go out with the idea of being not just self-sufficient or independent, but also like on my own whim. If I do something that's a little fucked up, then I'll pay for it. I'll face the consequences myself, and I don't want anybody else to partake in that. Because why? Poor little thing, he wants to have good fun. I might as well just go. I do take him out like every month or 2 months to like the sea or the mountain or someplace where there's like fresh air and the horizon is out for 100 kilometers. Like that's the feel. And like he's blind as a bat in that sense. He's got so much cataract that I'm sure he cannot understand any of the depth of the ocean. But
he can smell
I
it.
know.
But I'm sure
Sorry?
he can smell it. I'm sure he can smell it.
Exactly. Like you can smell it, you can feel it. Like your Bollywood में जो बोला जाता है रगो रगो पे एहसास हुआ and all of that jazz. Well, I'm sure उसको होता है. Like you feel the wind coming in and he knows that this wind ain't normal, and like it makes him feel different things. So every time I go out, it's like 2 or 3 days out sleep, and then we chill. Diwali times and all those times the humans are creating a ruckus here. We're out, and yeah, that way we travel some, but no, otherwise we don't.
What was the last place you two went to together?
Him and I, there's this place called Kashid, this beach. I took another friend of mine along, so we discovered a nice little dam on the backside of Kashid, like a wildlife sanctuary. And the Kashid beach itself, like we went in really off season. I always do that. I go midweek, but there's no tourist season in the resort. So in the resort also, it was just us, Taji, me, my friend, and blast, total blast. Like 5 hours in and out, but the dog is having a great time. We do this a
I
lot.
want to take Zoe to the beach someday. Today she's sitting on my feet, at my feet. I usually keep her outside the room, but these days I've been stitching a rug in the house. So in the
Oh
room,
yeah, that circular rug.
yeah.
Mhm.
So I keep the door locked, and I've kept it locked for almost all of yesterday. So now she just come all the way. She just barged away, and she's just sitting here, so nothing very good. Okay, so tell me a little bit more about what your childhood was like, because I know you were my senior in school, but I really saw you as that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize like it was difficult for me to process that you could also have a childhood of your own. So what was it like?
Well, my childhood, I think, was mostly achievement. Shit tons of achievement. One after the other, in one area or the other. So childhood was mostly like, kitna preparation hua hai, kisi bhi cheez. And then what all things are yet to do. Lots of planning, lots of chop mess. Hey man, that was not very fun. Like, to be fairly honest with you, like, I've got no complaints now because, like, my childhood, I think, has given me this idea that no matter how much you achieve, it doesn't matter that. Like, all of those achievements from back then, you see, until 10th grade, maybe I was like an out performer. And in 12th grade, I scored like 48% all of just to, like, just get through. And it didn't matter. None of that matters today. What matters is how much empathy I have, how I treat people, and all that. So I think it was a good childhood in that respect. While I was growing up, it was pretty tough.
What would you tell your 10-year-old self?
Whatever you're doing is great, so long as you want to do it, and keep at it because it will not give you the fruits immediately, but it will give you fruits in maybe 15 years, 10 years, 5 years, I don't know. Because I used to be really restless, like everything was achievement oriented. So you did a lot, you achieved it, end of story. Like, that's how the timelines went, and that was kind of fucked up because it was all short term. But like long term is this, for example, like the tenacity that engineering gave us, for example. There's a shit ton of engineers who think engineering se kuch nahi. I agree with that in terms of knowledge. But engineering gave tenacity, man. I didn't want to do something and I still had to motor through it, for how many ever years I did it. And in that sense, that is helping me 10 years down when today I have to go through a project that I really don't want to. It's a fuck all project, but it's paying me well or something like that. Then you have to push through, and that's where it comes from. So something that you did before comes back many, many, many years down, I think. So that's what I'll tell my 10-year-old self.
Would you use the word tenacity for a 10-year-old? And I lost money. Yeah, fine. You came back.
Yeah. Bolo, what did you say?
So if you would say that to a 10-year-old, would you say tenacity to them?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
I think 10-year-olds understand that shit,
I mean,
yeah, right?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like they're the most intuitive of the lot.
Intuitive, yes. Yeah, I mean, like, they might not get tenacity off the hook, but, the next time they hear tenacity, they're going to link it up and they're going to know what this bearded guy was trying to tell me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was about a year old or 2 years old or something, and I remember this one time, my mother said something, and I looked at her and I said, "I'm not casting aspersions at you." And
You're not what?
I'm not casting aspersions at you. And because I heard the word that my parents used somewhere in some conversation. So
yeah.
Speaking about pushing through and just getting, just going with it. What's the one story from your life that sort of, that always manages to bring you out of a gloomy day? Something that your mind goes back to.
Okay. So, I think there's a shitload of people who are here who know me, who might know about this story, but here we go. So I was in Gokarna. So I found this guy who was like a 60-year-old Swede, and fat, 6'4", and he had white hair, only going straight down to his butt. Okay, and you're hearing everything, right? Hearing.
Yeah.
So, and he had an underwear that was like a langot, essentially. Okay, so I was like, I could see his entire palm nice and proper. And this guy with his blue eyes and his white skin and white hair and all that, he walks into the ocean. He drowns himself in the ocean for a second. Then he comes back out. Then he drowns himself in the sand. Think about that, okay? So the man comes, he drops like that, flat into the sand, then turns over. So he's all coated with sand from all over. I'm just looking at this old guy doing all this BS, and I was like, oh, what's up? So I went and sat next to him. I asked him, like, who are you? Where are you from? And he said, no, I don't want anything from you. I was like, no, I'm not one of the doctors here. So he goes like, are you company? I'm like, company? Okay, yeah, we're company. Cool, we're company. And we started talking. And like first 3 or 4 sentences go by, and he says to me, you know what life really is? You eat, then you feel good because you eat. Then you digest, you shit. You feel good because you shit. Then you eat again. And then you sleep. And in between all of this, you feel good because you've got some good stuff. Yeah, and you know the way he put that stuck with me so bad because there was a guy who was completely covered in sand, completely head to toe covered in sand, and talking to me about life. And like that sort of visual really sticks with you, right? Better than mom or grandpa or something. I can pick a guitar. There's this guy, and then the next 3 days we spend like bodies through thick and thin. Great.
Where does it stay?
In Sweden, I don't know the exact name of the place, but Norway.
Okay. And
Yeah.
are you still in touch with him?
Oh yeah. We talk every 2 months or something over email, and like he's this, like, think about it, 60-year-old guy. He's got a girlfriend. Okay, she's about 52 or something. Okay, and he goes like I asked him, okay, what are you gonna do when you go back to Sweden? And he says that I'm gonna chop up my car in half and I'm gonna expand it because my girlfriend and I, we're both big guys and we can't fit in the car properly. So I want to like expand the width of the car so that we both can go out and do our own shit. Like that's his thing at the age of 60. Okay, Socho. And I asked him, okay, what are you doing here? Why you in India? Why are you chilling in Gokarna? He says, food, man. That's it. So like I'm just eating 6 tons of different kind of food for about 4 or 5 months, and once I'm done to my heart's content, I'm gonna go back. I'm like, ये 60 की उम्र में अगर ये कर रहे हो तो तुम्हारी जिंदगी में कुछ तो सही हुआ. Like, in the sense of saying that value systems are in place as against all of the 60-year-olds on our roads who will lose their shit the moment someone cuts through their road on the highway. And you go like, यार तुम 60 साल जिए ये करने के लिए, मतलब इन चीजों पे गुस्सा होने के लिए. Not necessary. No, I mean, like, what has your life been worth? So that is one incident that really pulls me back every time I'm low or something. I think about that guy. His name is Sharon, and I even wrote a character that is almost exactly inspired from him in a solo that I'm going to present soon, whenever it gets done. So I've been writing a solo, and he's one of the characters. That's how much he's affected my life.
It's really great to meet people like that.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Speaking of getting angry, do you get angry a lot?
Ask it, you know the questions, you know the answers to. But yeah.
With anger. I realized I remembered as soon as I asked you that.
Yeah, I get angry a lot. But I've been trying to control that a lot. Like, I think a lot of my anger doesn't manifest externally. It only comes out in words. I've never really beaten up anybody. Oh, recently I got completely beat up. Like, just like 2 days before the lockdown, yeah, I was punched through. So this part was swollen up. This was all black and blue. This was swollen. I had a few more bruises down here. And yeah, I was nice and proper beaten up by a neighbor. But essentially, yeah, we'll get into that story a little later. But I've
okay, fine. Let's talk about that later. Huh.
Yeah, so I've never really, like, my anger has never manifested itself in terms of a physical this thing, or like, because I'm angry at someone, I'll go and do something to them, or like, uske baare mein kuch to karta hu types. I don't really know, like, my anger is very momentary and it's very pure in that sense. It's gussa, it's krodh. There's no vengeance, there's none of that jazz along with it. But when it comes in, sometimes it is it is like heavy, sometimes even heavy for me. Like it makes my heart stop beating for a little while, and like it makes you think, like itna gussa aa kyun raha hai?
Yeah.
Like for the longest time, I've been like an angry kid and revolutionary in my own way. Rebellious, sorry, revolutionary. मतलब change करवाता है. I think. So yeah, I mean, I've been an angry kid, so now I think about it very often कि गुस्सा होने का जरूरत नहीं है. And it brings me closer to this understanding of peace. Peace is not like when you're feeling calm. Peace
Yeah.
is that sense when you're angry at someone, also you're feeling calm. So I'm trying to get to that state slow and steady. Even if this might sound preachy, it's totally the jam right now. Like right now, it's totally the jam about like internalizing and figuring out emotions and all of that. Call it Corona impact, but well, तो impact है, अच्छी बात है. Bring it on. So yeah, anger's going down. Do I what?
Do you find yourself to be calmer?
Yes, definitely. Mostly like most of us do. We've got a pretty dysfunctional family even out there. And most of the anger stems from the fact that you can't really talk to people often. Like, you cannot get things across to them. And the sense of existence itself or your identity kind of goes down, which is why you become irritable.
Yeah.
And I think most of our anger comes from irritability more than an actual anger where, you're furious about something. So you're mostly just irritable. And when you're irritated, it triggers a little bit of anger, which is the only trigger that you need to control. And then everything's pretty much sorted. Because, I mean, think about it. How many times have you gotten angry and the shit has really been worthwhile? How often has that happened? Not very often for most of us. So, anger is best let go of.
Do you think it's difficult for you to deal with change? 1 second, my dog needs attention. Hi.
Zoe! How you doing, Zoe?
She is. I cannot bring it back down because she will come and sit on me and give me a free facial, and I don't want to do that right now. But I'm going to try and see if she can go on.
Life.
No, she will literally not leave my face. Okay, wait. Let me take her out of the room.
Take your time. Until then, everybody down here. I mean, hey Tintin, hey Dawson, how are you guys doing? Hey, we've got a few other people also whom I sort of know or sort of don't know because we're just Facebook friends or whatever. Hey, thanks, Yuvraj. Deep convo and all. Should we continue this deep thing as it is going? What do you guys think? Or should we make it a little frivolous? What's the
Yes,
thing?
let us know, and we will take a choice. By we, I mean I will take a choice.
Prudence and all of that. As host there, and
Okay, so how do you find it easy to deal with change? Any kind of change in your life?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
How do you do it? Because I don't know how to. Even I remember my uncle passed when I was 9, and my aunt had hair up until the thighs, and she suddenly cut her hair, and it was like this tiny little bob. And all my life, so I had known her. I was about 9 back then. And all my life, I knew her. And suddenly she has a bob cut, and I didn't speak to her for about 6 months. Because I was
because it was so different. Oh.
So, and I mean, later we spoke about it when I was about 15, I think, and she said, in all fairness, my husband did just that.
Right.
So
yeah, well, okay. Yeah, I don't know if I can offer like an actual solution because like that's the thing about change, isn't it? Variable. What does variable mean? Like it's not subject to be the same, right?
Yeah.
So I think what helps me the most is the fact that like I don't take life to be a certain way in the sense कि ये ऐसा होना चाहिए is an idea that's completely non-existent. Heraclitan philosophy of change. Jesus. Okay, so it's in the sense of saying everything that you do in your life every day, like unless you're working a job, even if you're working a job, honestly, everything that seems so routine or like constant, okay, still has so many variables and so many changing elements in them, tiny, tiny of them, which we don't observe, which is why we see it as the same. So, like if you traverse the same roads every day, you'll call it commute because it's the same every day. But it's not. The cars are different, the traffic is different, how fast you get to go is different. It's all different. So the definition has to change a little in the sense of saying ki ye zindagi hai. If you know that, then something happens a little differently. Then you go like, oh, ye zindagi nahi hai. Like in the sense of saying, or it becomes difficult to accept. Okay, this is also doable. Like you can live with this and you can live with this. The whole point being that everything is constantly changing around us in terms of the world that we live in now. And if you look at, like, think about this, like, there's a globe, there's the entire world, there's one man, one human on it. Okay. What does he or she do? Like, what do? They're basically going to do the same thing that animals do. They're going to scavenge for food. They're going to look for shelter. And when they're tired, they're going to sleep. When they're not tired, they're going to scavenge for food. Okay. The point being, constant kuch hai nahi. And that is why life is a little tough. Which is why mankind made things that were constant so that life wouldn't be so tough. Okay. Like so many things that became standardized per se, so that we didn't have to worry about fluctuations causing problems in our life, essentially. So now that we are already living a standardized life, like everything that we drink from milk to alcohol, everything that we eat from maize to pizza, everything is standardized in a certain way. So how much more constant do we need? Like we don't need any more constant. Like we essentially we need to understand that every day is going to be different. Every person is going to be different. Maybe in a month's time, 4 months, 6 months, years, long time. And most importantly, you are going to be different.
Yeah.
So there's no point holding on to a certain idea of what you think is right or what you think is comfortable for you. Like abhi ka dekho yaar, how many people have realized that they can really do without smoking? How many people have realized that they can do without? ऐसा नहीं कि मतलब, like it's like they might still want to do. It's a desire, but it's not a need. And there's a shit ton of people who suddenly realize that about themselves. We've also made this concrete idea of ourselves, and these are the ages late 20s where we really start building up that idea of who we are and what we want our life to be. But it's all BS because it's going to keep changing no matter what you think it is or what you want it to be.
Yeah.
It's best to be a little submissive towards life in the sense and saying that like you want to achieve a little bit, sure, go for it, achieve it. But don't think that shit is going to be the way it is. It's not. It's never been like that. I mean, just because in your lifespan of what, 20, 25 years, पूरी दुनिया इतनी बदली नहीं है, तुम्हारी लाइफस्टाइल इतनी बदली नहीं है, वगैरह सब सही है, इसकी वजह से ये मत समझो कि पूरा लाइफ you're going to be all sorted. You're not. You are going to go through fucked up times. You are going to go through hilariously good times. And there is going to be some sadness in the good times and some great things in the bad times. And that's the best part about change. You get to see everything. अगर change नहीं होता तो एक ही एक चलता रहता. Kind of like Shakespeare, like Sherlock Holmes says, how fucking boring is it? How boring is it to be in your head? Like, that kind of thing. There's no change. What? How can there be no change? Legit quit 15 days ago. Good shit, Yogaraj. Full power.
So do you attach easily to ideas, to people, to things?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
do you find it easy to detach?
Yeah. I think the process started the other way around. Detaching started earlier. Attaching became kind of late. Like my mom was this mom all my childhood, extra mom. So I was the center of her life. And she's in the next room right now, but still, I'm not talk about it openly, even if she just barges out. Mom was always in my life a lot. So she would ask me to do a lot of things. So there was a lot of answering to, or being answerable for what I'm doing, or constantly having to do something under some sort of supervision. Okay. So I wanted to thwart it all away and break through and just get out, do my own thing, be out there in the world. So detachment actually came naturally from my childhood time because I didn't want to be with my mother. I didn't want to be around my family. I did not want to be around the same friends whom I had seen every day. I wanted to be somewhere else, in a sort of travel bug kind of thing. And like eventually, as I started falling in love, for example, like I've been through 7 relationships, quite some, but through all of them, I did realize that I do attach quite fast. And unbeknownst to me, because mostly the detaching process came so naturally that I completely forwent the attachment process. And like in that sense, whenever I was attaching myself to any person, I was giving them my all. Because I'm like honesty is a big part of my life. So unless you're honest with me, I don't have any value.
Yeah.
So that honesty was something that most people don't live by, man. And so because of that, I lost a lot of friends. Like, I felt a lot of betrayal coming my way. Or like, ye log aise kaise ji lete hain and all of that. And so I detached from a lot of people. And I also found that when I was attaching myself to a woman whom I was saying that, okay, we're close, is when I would I would submit entirely in various ways. And that caused a lot of problems. Like, can I deviate for a second here? I really think that Indian males are not given that sort of understanding of how to deal with emotions, either good or bad. Like even the good emotions, man. Like the bad emotions, we mostly deal with in terms of anger or breaking shit, I guess. But the good ones also, like how do you celebrate love? Like we've never really been taught that, and that's something I still need to learn for myself. So when I with women and then eventually with deeper friendships that I found eventually, um, there was this sort of understanding that I do attach unknowingly pretty quickly, and that's where the catch lay. Like when I started realizing, okay, what attachment really means, and my latest relationship was a little tough because I was really attached. I was really attached quite a lot, and through that, like the attachment led to a lot of this sort of problem in terms of saying कि कुछ कुछ moments पे जब detach करना जरूरी होता है वो नहीं करता है. And that was like the ultimate problem that I faced with attachment per se. So ever since that relationship ended, I think I've finally been on this sort of like plane, like this balance where I attach myself to things that are healthy or positive to me, or like in terms of saying that I'll attach with the idea that this is probably going to go away at some point, and I think like that's why probably even relations are tough now. Relationships essentially are tough now, because I'm not going to attach for a lifetime in the sense of saying that a promise कि आज से जिंदगी भर के लिए तुम्हारे साथ is not happening. So the attachment is mostly in terms of saying that I've taken this on because I really like it, because I think it's on, but to know that this is probably going to go away at some point. And like I think that's where the balance between attached and detached really happens, because if you call it detachment, then you're talking about sacrificing something or letting go of something, which is kind of pointless because वो तुम्हारा है ही नहीं. I mean, like for fuck's sake, these headphones are sure bought by me, but they don't really belong to me, man. They're made by so many materials that come out of the earth and then by some other people. Is that kiska ownership hai? Ye paisa diya iske liye mera ho gaya, fine. In a humane philosophy, that is perfectly fine. But none of this is mine. Nothing is really ours. So ownership hai nahi, so loss of ownership hai, essentially. So your attachment and detachment is mostly in terms of whether you're feeling it, whether you're feeling the vibe, whether the wavelength is there or not. Right now I'm feeling pretty attached to you. Like I'm loving every time you smile. I keep thinking, ye ladki zyada smile kyun nahi kar, for example. But at the same time, when this call is done,
Because you know me. And you've
yeah,
known me
of course.
or something.
Layers, babe, layers, lots of them, on one on top of the other. But when the phone call is done, we talk about it, and I'll feel great about it. I'll even probably text you later at night. But after the call is done, for the next 4 odd hours, I'm going to invest myself in something, and I'll probably not think about this. That doesn't mean like I'm detached from it really, क्योंकि वो है कहीं तो ज़हन में है, but it does not mean कि वो it's there in my thought process, and it's like संगा के साथ call हुआ, live हुआ, this that. Yeah, whatever.
I have like before we got onto this call, I usually tend to make tea, and I make peppermint tea before I go on live so that I can calm my nerves. And after the call, I'll probably talk to my mom because she's watching in the other room.
Yeah.
and or I'll probably call a bunch of friends and get some feedback because I know they were watching. And after that, I just go back to doing something completely different. And
Something
somehow,
what?
something completely different.
Right.
And that's really helped because I've tired myself out so much throughout the day that somehow after every live video, I fall asleep by 10:30. On any other day, I'll sleep at 9 in the
Right.
morning.
Correct. But
So
well
it's,
said. How's that happening? Tell me that. Like, what do you think? Why is that happening?
I don't know. I think I feel like I've learned something new, which is a good use of my time. If I think it was a good use of my time, I'll be happy with it. Like,
Yes.
that's pretty much it. And
Yeah.
it's quite interesting to know how you attach and detach because it's something I've always struggled with because there are certain things I can cut off immediately
Yeah.
and there are certain things I can't. But there are certain things that will take time, but there are certain things I don't want to cut off from, which may not be good.
Right.
Or certain
Yeah.
things I attach myself to, certain ideas, certain people. And
I know.
so this is quite insightful to understand. Have you ever have you ever been on the receiving end of it? Like you said that you had some friends who chose to detach from. Have you ever been on the receiving end of that? Someone told you that, hey, you're probably not that great for me and I don't really want to be friends with you anymore. And what was that like?
Yeah.
What was that like?
Like, I can't pick out exact instances. But yeah, it's happened a lot of times. And from third grade, I was in Abhinav. And in fourth grade, there was some kitta that happened, by which there were a shit ton of people who suddenly started looking at me as a black. So I used to eat my own tiffin by myself. And like the entire school used to sit with those dabba group, like 10, 15 people sitting together and amcha group hai and tu amcha group मध्ये नको येऊ वगैरे. Like I've heard that so many times की तुझ्या सारखी पोरं आम्हाला नको आहेत आमच्या group मध्ये. Okay. And like that was one reason I was so out of place in school, like in Abhinav. Yeah, yeah. So I was made to sit away from the class basically. And like that's why I've never really attached myself with most of the people around me from that age. You know what I'm saying? So when I came to DPS, it was actually a lot of inclusion. A lot of people suddenly feeling like wanting to be with me or feeling like wanting to be my friend.
Yeah.
That's actually like, this is a revelation to me as well. ये detachment वाला zone तभी शुरू हुआ था. But yeah, I mean, Abhinav was where most of my detachment.
So, what was the change like? How did you since you had the shift where people did want to speak to you in DPS, how did you take to that change in environment? Did you see it as something good for you?
Yeah. I didn't know it was good for me at that point, like you said. Yeah, no, I didn't know at that time. It took a toll on my studies in the sense, like, the first year, 7th grade, I think I scored pretty badly in DPS. But that was, mostly because of that. लोग बात तो करते हैं मेरे पास. Like, thoda to hai. And like, I'm pretty sure you saw a lot of my wannabe nature in school, or you can think back on it, because I wanted to be liked. I wanted to be spoken to. I wanted to be revered in a certain sense. And it came because I could see the opportunity, like in Abhinav chance in it. और यहाँ पे आने के बाद in the first year itself, the school sent me like I think about 3 places to represent the school. Once in a debate, then to Lucknow bench. Lucknow भेज दिया मेरे को school ने. Like, it was that sort of feeling of importance. Like, whoa, I'm like a shit. And eventually, when I got out of DPS, I went to SP college.
Oh.
So think about that. Coming from Cosmopolitan Culture, Republic School, going into SP college, where one of the first 2 days that I was there, someone asked me to come back to client. And I was like, bro, ये किधर आ गया मैं? What is going on? मतलब ये किधर है मैं? Okay.
Yeah. So you joined Pune DPS in 2003, right?
No.
2005.
5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 5, 6, 7.
Okay. Oh, right. The cafeteria was still functional back then.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good days. So, and I completely get that whole, difference of, going from DPS somewhere else. So after 10th, I don't know if you know this, I went to KV.
Yeah.
And I went to KV Southern Command. And
Yeah.
it was brilliant when I was when my mum was there, because back then it was a very different kind of place. You didn't have an APS then. So
Yeah, I didn't know
KV,
your mom was there. Okay.
my mum was in KV Southern Command, and my physics teacher back then was actually a little. She was the woman who taught my uncle, and she taught me.
Okay.
So it was like that, and I remember going
How did she
there
teach your uncle?
because my uncle was there too, back when he was my age.
Nice. Okay. Go on.
Yeah. So we had. I remember going to KV, and my mom was just convinced that okay, this is good, and also because I had this whole rant about whether I was doing arts or whether I was going to do science or what I wanted to do. So after I left school, I decided to do science. Originally, I was do arts, and and then I wanted to pick up PCMB. So I was one of the weirdos who did PCMB, and then eventually I picked up French with it. So it was quite
Wow.
fun.
Wow.
And
Very nice.
I went to, so I remember going to KV, and it was the biggest culture shock of my life. In the sense of, I realized how spoiled I was in school.
Oh.
Forget me.
That kind of. Really?
Yeah, because there were a lot of people out there who didn't have access to the kind of information I did, or I had the privilege to have.
Fair.
And
Yeah.
there was also another thing that the washrooms were never clean. And it was terrible. I had to literally hold myself and walk to SGS to, relieve myself. I hated going there. It was in DPS where you had so many, you had the washrooms being cleaned every hour.
Yeah.
Interesting to look at it like that. I did hate it. Yuvraj actually bet with me that I wouldn't last a year. And I didn't, and I eventually left.
What, Yuvraj, what?
Yuvraj told me that you wouldn't last in KV for a year. Because you would hate it so much. And I actually didn't. I ended up realizing that I couldn't do it. And there were a lot of other things going on at that point. And eventually I went to Masters. And so I went from CBSE for my 11th to HSC for my 12th. And then I just got done. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Since you're smiling, I want to ask you this. What's the one thing that genuinely made you smile today?
That genuinely made me smile?
Yeah, it could even be a leaf fluttering for all I care.
Like something that genuinely made me smile in my life?
Today.
You?
Other than that.
I'm not even kidding. I mean, like there have been a few things that made me smile. But yeah, you definitely. Like my dogs. Like now I've got 2 dogs. So my dog is 15 and there was an adoptee. Adoptee in the sense he just showed up outside our gate. He was bruised and battered a couple of years ago. So I took him in. And now he's like, he's become a part of our house and the neighbors in the front. So he keeps switching between our houses in the quarter time. So these 2 boys have finally started interacting, man. Because that guy is 2 years old and my Willie is 15 years old. So they both can't really gel very easy, If one 15-year-old dog, one 2-year-old dog, like Buddha or Bachcha, kya baat karenge, yaar? What are they going to talk? So,
hey, they can have some conversations, I think.
I'm sure they do in doggy language, but like Dove Shishter, they're pretty Marathi about that, I guess. Like in the sense, like Willie is all too like, hey, Machi Zaka, what is this? Ye kaun hai bachcha naya aaya hai sir? What is this? Uska pooch bahut hil raha hai, like, you can make out these things, man. Like Willie's face, every now and then Willie's face is like, can he just stop moving his damn face? Constantly on. So these 2 guys made, I made paneer.
You made what?
Paneer.
I can't hear you.
Paneer.
You made paneer.
And not paneer ki sabzi. I made paneer.
Ooh, did you eat it? Did you eat it raw?
Yeah, नहीं वो ऐसे ही वो बना के रख दिया है वो थोड़ा सा वो शोकेस में अच्छा दिख रहा है करके अगले 2 हफ्ते के. Yeah. So yeah, I mean like I did eat it up. It's tasting phenomenal. Like मैं डेयरी वाले को जाके बोलने वाला है कि भाई थोड़ा रखूंगे तेरे यहाँ पे, like थोड़ा सा कमाते हैं दोनों मिलके करके. Oh, why the fuck not? But yeah, that made me smile. That definitely made me smile a lot. I've been cooking a lot in this quarantine. Like I said, mom's been teaching me a lot of traditional stuff and the way to go about it. Yachi bhaji, techi bhaji. And while I'm learning a lot of that and putting together some of the stuff that I have tasted or eaten, like last year's South India trip, I was down there solo. There are some things which fit in your heart. You can remember the taste even in your bedroom. Like when you just wake up in the morning, sometimes you go like, "What tomato ki chutney, Wayanad wali?" It just
Yeah.
happens. So I've been cooking a lot of things like that with mom, and together when we make something, we look at each other, and there's that approval. Ki, hua hai kya? Dang se hua hai? Boom, 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 and that's how it goes. So yes, that's what made me smile. Okay, so what are the comments? What's the theme?
So, we have a question for you that says,
Okay.
what made you realize? Oops, I just lost myself. Sorry, I don't know what just happened. What made you realize that what made you decide to become an actor, and also when did you realize that you have a good voice?
आंटी थैंक यू सो मच इतना शर्मिंदा मत करो ये वैसे दिन की पहली बात है जो अच्छी सुनाई दे रही है खुद के बारे में थैंक यू वेरी मच well actor I think age of 3 was my first solo or like first performance on stage credit goes completely to my parents basically both of my parents are from theater like my mom and dad met while they were doing a play so
I don't know.
yeah, both of them were actors, and then like my mom's an actor mostly, and my dad is a writer, actor and director, and then he does all of the ancillaries that come with it, set वगैरह बनाना. So like I was initiated into acting or performing more like pretty much anything on the stage since childhood. So 3 years old was when I had my first like performance per se, and ever since it's been like this joyride, man. Like Auntie, I don't really know like this good voice thing. Like voice artistry basically came up when I was 19, 18, 19. That was when the guy just pulled me in and he said that you want to do some dubbing for a Hindi serial. He was just looking for some cheap talent. And I had no experience, so I was willing to work with him for whatever money he gave me. And out of nowhere, we just started doing like 12-hour long shifts for dubbing an entire Hindi serial into English. And yeah, so like after the first month or so of doing that, they asked me if I wanted to do like a couple of more voices and a couple of more characters in that same serial itself. And I was like, cool, chilies, no problem. So we started doing that. And eventually what happened was like, 4 or 5 of my own characters would start talking to each other in one scene. So I had to make sure that my voice was differentiated. And like from there, it came out to this idea that I wanted to start doing all different kinds of voices. So from extreme bass to this creepy, cracky kind of cartoonish voices and all of that. I really wanted to do that, and eventually, I think I worked on it a lot because it pays. It pays most of my bills. It's my primary source of income, let's say. Because filmmaking and theater को बहुत ज़्यादा पैसा देता है ना. Everybody knows it's such a sustainable occupation and all of that, how. So voice artistry essentially, I think I took very strongly because it pays, and mostly because it's good work in the sense of saying that you go in, you do your job, you're out, that's it. The onus is not on you if the particular product goes kaput or whatever it is. Like filmmaking is like those are pretty long drawn avenues, or most other arts are. And in that sense, voice artistry definitely helps with being quick in, quick out. Most often I'm the last in and first out kind of guy. So I focused on it. I paid some attention to it, and theater has really helped with keeping the voice on point because, Dad constantly on my head when we were doing plays. And you know that, right? I mean, like we did some plays together. So I wrote and Dad directed. Then Mom did the lights and all of that. Like there was a lot of that kind of family enterprise going on. And since it was like a serious play or whatever it is, you rehearse like real serious. So projection, money, projection. So you have to stand at one end and the other person has to be able to hear you crystal clear at the other end. So the voice got tempered, slow and steady through that, and well, that's led to today, I think. And one more thing, which I don't know, is a little off topic, but I started researching into a lot of ancient archaeology and those kind of things. And suddenly I started realizing that I think the civilization before us, like the cyclic civilization of mankind before us, um, was they were dependent heavily on things like understanding resonance and understanding sound in terms of saying that it's not just something that you hear and it's not just stimulus and it's not just something that you use to speak essentially, but sound is something that, like, I think you can move objects with sound, you can pick up stones with sound from a lot of the stuff that I've read of accounts of what people have done in the past. And I've started working on sound for the last year or so very heavily in terms of saying that your being will be determined by how you sound. Oh, you've got a light on you and a nice professional, very nice. Certain. Okay, very soft. Very soft. So, the resonance is a big part of my life now. I've even got an app, and I would really recommend it to a lot of people who are interested. It's called Wavelet. It basically shows a visual interpretation of all of the sounds that it hears, your phone hears. So if you're sitting in a quiet room and if you hit one particular note, and if it keeps giving you the same kind of pattern, in black and white, then you know that you're resonating. And if you listen to that again, you will hear that there is a resonant sound that you can hear. ये सुनने के बाद मेरे लाले उड़ गए. So from then on, I've been really focusing on resonance a lot, way more than this.
So, coming back to what we were talking about earlier, tell me, you were telling me about your trip to South India.
Yeah, man, you sure you got another couple of hours for that? Because that was one of the best things that ever happened. Like literally in every single way. Because I went out from here. I was on my motorcycle for about 3 weeks, all by myself. I waded through 6 forests in the south. And that was the idea, that I wanted to be in the forest, different forests. So there were a lot of encounters with animals in various ways. I remember this one time when we were near Ooty and this jungle of Koramangala. And there's basically like a black forest over there, so it's like a tiger reserve. And we were going through there. I'm telling you, it's called a black forest. Fuck. Subah ke 10 baje, we had to turn on our lights, otherwise we couldn't see shit. Okay, at 10 o'clock in the morning, it was that dark inside the forest. Okay. And we were wading through that, so we went right through the end, and there were no animals, it was all chill, fine, we were all kuch nahi dikha vagare. And on our way back, there were 6 bisons screwed on the road. Okay. They were on the road and it was a single lane road. There's not 2 lanes for mera side ka traffic and oncoming traffic. 1 lane. And uspe there are 6 full-sized bisons. So when I'm on the bike, the bison's hump is a foot taller than my head. Okay. When I'm sitting on the bike, the bison is taller than I am. Okay. And there's 6 of those fuckers on the road. I'm telling you, the experience of going through wilderness, real wilderness, was something that took me back to the core roots of "Tu zinda hai kafi." You know what I'm saying? And in that sense, that you look at a jungle, you go in the very touristy sense, you go "Oh, ye kitna sundar hai, and it's so green and it's so fresh, the air is so blah and this and that." But when you're in it, there's laws of the jungle. There's so many things that the jungle follows that you have to live by, otherwise you're screwed. Very close encounter with a leopard, one with a black panther when I was in Dandeli. In Wayanad, right outside the hostel where I was sitting and eating my pandi curry, and the manager comes out and he's he's sniffing around and he's going "Elephant is here." And I go "What are you talking about? I mean, how do you know by smell that there's an elephant?" He goes "There is an elephant here." And we tried moving around and we found fresh poop inside the gate. So there was an elephant maybe 15, 20 feet from where I was sitting and eating my fucking food. And the way mankind lives with the jungle in all of those places, that really got me into this idea, for example, symbiosis is what is important there. It's not about equality. It's not about fairness and justice. Those are all man-made terms, it's just symbiosis. and how being symbiote that really matters to how they come together, how they live together for real, you know. And in those 3 weeks, like I think I met some of the best people because I gave out some of the best vibes. Shit, sorry, my screen is moving too much. I'm sorry. Okay, so like the first 4 or 5 days it takes for you to get the city out of your head, like to break from those shackles completely, and like to be one with who you really are, what you feel when you are on the road, what you can see on the road. नहीं तो क्या है, गाय भैंस औरत मर्द बच्चा पंछी, उसके अलावा और कुछ है नहीं रास्ते पे. But every single sunset that you see wows you. Every time you feel a gust of fresh air, it wows you. That is your true being. Or that's what it took me like 4 or 5 days to realize. And thenceforth, I was giving out real vibes, real wavelengths that people could attune themselves to. Or, people who had similar vibes could easily, match up, like real quick. And I made some crazy bodies. Like, this was the only time where I didn't really go to all of the hippie spots. Like, I jumped hostels and I went to, like, core jungles, tried to be in the jungles. So it was more about the places rather than the people. And yet, like, at some points, I met such incredible people. So, like, for example, I was at this place called Mandalpatti, okay, which is near Coorg. And Coorg is like coffee haven and, like, again, jungles, elephants, and all of that jazz. It was brilliant. The entire thing was brilliant. But Mandalpatti is this place where you see, like, waves of hills that are filled with green, like, right till your horizon, essentially. And when you can see so many hills that are filled with green all the way, then whoever is next to you, if you can vibe with that person, that bond really just tightens up. And I don't know how to explain that. So that was a place that influenced a lot of my bonds, for example. And then the opposite happened as well. Like when I was in Ooty, those people had heard that I rap and that I do all of these things, something with music. So they were like, okay, let's hold a rap night once you come here. And when I went to Ooty, they actually had a rap night set out. It was so cute, like with all of the inmates of this hostel per se. It was like about a total of like 30-35 people sitting in front of me, and I'm standing out there. Like I was like, okay, let me start off. And another dude comes up and he goes like, hey, can I like do a preface to you? So even I'm a rapper and I'll just throw out stuff. And
did you make a video for this?
Yeah. No, I mean those were just like live stories wale videos. The ones that you've seen happened later because of this little event. Because Hostel picked us up and they said that okay, do like a rap event at Hostel Panchgani. So after we came back, Suyash, Omkar, and I used to run this thing called Being Famous Gents, and we performed over there at Hostel Panchgani. But yeah, I mean Ooty happened out of nowhere. These guys made this rap night happen, and so many people suddenly, 35 people suddenly became a family after an hour of rap. I mean, you tell me how often that happens. How many people even listen to rap with intent of listening? Most of them are just bobbing this, that, feeling the beat, and suddenly out of a lot of so a lot of people felt this togetherness out of nowhere. And I think the next few days went phenomenally for a lot of those people. Like all of those people kept coming back and saying that, hey, we had great days, even if we did nothing. So this was people influencing life, just the other way around. And the culmination of this entire tour happened in Wayanad, which was like the place where my soul thrived. Like, think about this. Like, I write in English, I think in English, and in Wayanad, I was thinking and writing in Marathi, like in poetic Marathi. Out of nowhere, I don't know how Marathi just started flowing through me at that time, but it did. So a lot of things that were natural to me kept occurring over there because there was nobody there. There was proper tandem between nature and humanity. Like हम लोग शाम को वहाँ पे उस हॉस्टल के बाहर बैठे हुए थे. Only three of us in the entire hostel, and all three of us are sitting there, and we're just talking, okay, like chilling. Something starts moving in front of us in the tea field, and we throw out like a torch, and there's porcupines the size of a fucking Labrador. Okay, like I'm not kidding you. Porcupines that would like without their spines out would come up to like my knee. that size of a porcupine. Okay. And we were so jeered by that. We went back inside and we shot our torch back outside. So there was a leopard sitting about 35 feet into the dark, which we had no idea about. Nobody knows how long that guy was sitting over there and watching us. Kidding, man. Watching us. Like he was like, okay, movie night. Let's look at these three guys. Literally. And the moment we shone the torch on his face, like my hands were shivering when I saw him. And he just looked into the light, like did that, and he moved away. Sorry, what?
As long as it wasn't a hyena.
Well, I've encountered hyenas much closer to Pune, and that was a far more dangerous incident. So,
We also
what? Sorry.
I remember we also thought we heard one when we went.
Oh yeah, I took you there. We went and stopped over. That's why you brought it up. Less shani hai tu. Less shampat. Yeah? Too much. Auntie, take care of this girl. Huh? She's talking too much sometimes. But that's nice. That was like that was a proper event. But yeah, that's how South India went for me, man. I mean, the whole tour for 3 weeks, being out and coming back. I think there was a lot of getting in touch with myself. I think a lot of us need to do that. You don't need to travel. You don't need to put up posts. You don't need to do the wanderlust aspect. You need to keep going and understanding where or how you can be comfortable and still productive. That is like the balance to really attain. You know what I'm saying? You need to be comfortable and productive. Otherwise, then there's some point to that productivity. Otherwise, ganta, which point me if you're spreading yourself too thin. And in these days, in those 3 weeks, also I did some voice jobs just sitting inside those hostels. I mean, like I took on some work also, and I wasn't feeling too badly about it. Like that's basically, I think, what life really is. It taught me life. Be a little gentle with life, gently. Be cool and calm and composed. Even if shit starts going like hitting the fan, chill because it will hit the fan. So when it's not hitting the fan anymore, we can rejoice again. But at other times, be gentle, be comfortable. Then you can deal with life a lot better. Is what the trip taught me, I think. And yeah, it was one of the best trips I've had so far. One of the best solos. Yeah.
Does anything scare you?
Yeah, tons of things scare me, man. I mean, like tons of shit scare me. The pandemic scared me. The hyenas scared the fuck out of me that time. The way Indians are reacting to the virus at times, seeing everybody doing their evening walks. I don't know if you can hear the guys playing cricket right now. Everybody's having a jolly time. This scares me at times. Being futile scares me. Like not achieving enough. Achieving in the sense, fuck achieving. Mostly in terms of saying not doing enough. Or like, not spending my time in a tangible way. That scares me a lot. Ending up lonely scares me now. In the sense that I kind of know that I'll probably never be alone. But I'm not sure if I'll be lonely. There's a difference. Like, and I'm not even talking about exhaust falling off scares me. Yeah, Bharat, thank you so much. Referring to an incident where I was just going down the street and the exhaust of my bike just fell out. Like it just fell out of nowhere, and then I just continued. Don't even ask me what happened. But there's a lot of things that scare me now. I mean, it's not so. Why shouldn't they? But there was a long time before when two kind of US guys put that fear is actually not. Okay, so this guy who told me that fear is actually not having a plan or not knowing enough of what to do.
I still can't hear you.
How about now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So long time ago, this guy told me that fear is essentially lack of plan or lack of knowledge. And
lack of knowledge.
Yeah, and that really hit a lot. Like, why would you be afraid of something if you know what to do, or if you know everything about it? Like, why would you be afraid of whatever that it is? So that has stuck, and that's when you start learning that you're like you don't know much, or you know the less you know. So the more I start finding out the more it starts giving a little bit of sort of jittery feeling at times. Believe it or not, going on stage scares me. Because there was a time.
I see Willie there. Sorry.
You can see him? Where's he? Hey, Willie! What? You can just say hi to him at all if you can. For the viewers out there, that's my dog. That's Mary John. Hey, we got some hearts out there.
Yay!
Nice.
Hearts.
So, sorry, where was it? Yeah. Essentially, the point being that the more you know the more you understand that you don't know enough about the world. At times, it really scares. In terms of saying that, when my dog is not feeling great at times, I don't know exactly what to do about it. There used to be a time when I used to be like, "हाँ ठीक है हो जाएगा." Like, there's a certain youthly overconfidence, let's say. When a little bit of humility comes in, it brings in an idea of fear. You don't know what to do in so many situations. So I fear life as a whole at times. At times. Hey, Bharat, baad mein aa. But yeah, I mean, that's what I'm mostly afraid of, life by itself. And after that guy beat me, after my neighbor beat me up, I'm also afraid of someone beating me up if I say the wrong thing. So like now I'm a lot more mindful of what I say. And like who the fuck thinks they're gonna get beat up, man? I never thought I was gonna get beat up. I never beat anybody up. I don't like that zone. I think it's very uncivil. But
That's something we can talk about. We should talk about off camera.
what? Sorry.
Do you want to talk about what you said that led to you being beat up, or is that something that is better to be spoken about off camera?
No, I can speak about it. No sweat. So essentially, there was some. He was a little pissed at me because in Diwali time I called them uncivilized bastards. Because I asked them to blow up their crackers a little way off, like thoda sa aage jaake, because my gully is like this very narrow place. Yeah, so you remember that, there's bungalows every. Hey Willie, there he is. Point on. How you doing? How are you? Okay. So I was for this guy essentially. I was asking him to light the crackers a little way off, and he wouldn't have any of it, and he was like, "Abey, festival hai, ye wo hai." And generally, their entire family is a little brutal, in the sense that वो बात वात करना वगैरह उनको नहीं जमता. So at times if they get really pissed off, they'll even beat each other up. I've seen the older brother beat up the younger guy, the father beat up the boys. Like beating up is generally life. उनके यहाँ पे. And हमारे यहाँ पे it's abusing. All three of us are cool with abusing, for example. Bad words are fine, so long as you maintain a decorum per se. And there he goes. So, when a Abhita incident happened, the other dog, the doggy, his name is Boris, he was chewing off some bricks of his car. And I went and intervened when he started throwing stones at the dog. So I pulled the dog close and I asked him, I was telling the dog not to do this shit. And he was like, yeah, isko andar rakh and all of that. And I was like, yeah, look at that and do that. Now see, the tone of what I was speaking was essentially what made all of the difference. Because I called him uncivilized and bastards way back in Diwali, so wo uske dimag mein tha. And here, when it actually happened, the way I was speaking, I was a little about it. So he was like, "Roop, tere se kuch nahi hone wala." So he pulled up the dog and he was about to beat up the dog. So I fell in between. And when I fell in between, my hand went to his throat. So he thought, oh, now I'm beating him up. So in came this entire...
No, back up. What was he trying to do with this video?
He pulled the dog and he was going to beat the dog. So, which is why I fell in between, obviously. I mean, that would be an offense if he had beat the dog up. I know that bit. He didn't beat the dog up, so which is why an FIR also didn't make sense. Anyway, so I got in between, and because my hand went up to his throat, he was of that opinion, ki ab hone wala hai. And then he just went out. So in came this entire, this flight of punches, one after the other. And I'm telling you, the first punch knocked me out clean. The first punch when I was out because it hit the right spot. Like he knew where he was hitting. So after the first punch, I remember only the punches. I don't remember in between. And then while everything was done, before I went inside my house, my face was swollen. Like right there, in under 30 seconds, my face was swollen. That was just that. That's your incident. What can I tell you? Someone's commented something on it. Of course, you called them uncivilized. Well, yeah. And, bolo.
No, I'm just reeling that story.
Yeah, well, it's one of the only kinds of those stories that's going to happen in my life as well. So we're going to, in a sense, I think it's that sort of story which needs to happen to some people when they've really gone astray a lot. Like, I think I had gone off of my decided life a lot. Like, you mind if I quickly touch upon a little philosophy here? Quickly for like a couple of minutes. Like, I really think that we always get what we deserve from the cosmos. Okay. And cosmos meaning cosmos, not God, not this, not that. Soups, what do you mean? How old was it? But I mean that, like, the cosmos gives you what you deserve, not just what you want. A lot of times, what you need as well. So when you get punched, for example, you think, what the fuck did I do to deserve this? Okay, and I did think about that myself. I went over to a friend, like, real quick after the beat up was done, and I sat with him. I got real high. I was thinking about life for a long time. And I kept thinking about this, that today, like that day, I was really, really feeling alive. Does that make sense? Like someone had punched the fuck out of my face. So the blood flow itself had changed completely. Every now and then, if I brought out snot from my nose, it had blood in it. And I was certainly having to be mindful of a lot of things. I wasn't just chilling around in my life. And when I came back home, I finally started realizing a lot of the things that I was foregoing in terms of my duties, in terms of my discipline. And I think that punching event really brought me back on track to say कि भाई बहुत ज़्यादा गए गुजरे हो अभी वापस आ जाओ. You know what I'm saying? And I had a couple of good friends, like, yes, the guy who commented right now, Single Malt Vinod. He was there with me the following night, and he's seeing my swollen face. But you see, that's the scene. Like, I didn't feel like going and doing anything to that guy because I kind of really feel that I deserved it, not from that guy or for that event, but for my life and from the universe, in a sense of saying. And ever since that time, like for the first week of the quarantine, basically, I was still spitting up blood from my snot. Essentially. And that scared me, like, being a smoker, being a heavy smoker and doping up in so many ways, and COVID-19 being difficult on the lungs and all of that. It scared me already. On top of that, to be in a state which was kind of tough, it scared me even further. But that's what made me a lot more mindful, I think, of what I was doing. And like, I realized a lot of things that I'm doing are not right. They're not necessary. The kind of lifestyle that I'm leading is not necessary. The kind of things I expect from life are not necessary. And with all of that just drowning out, I think the noise drowned out from my life, and shit just became easier. Believe it or not, the punching made life easier. Like, I haven't said one bad thing to the guy, and I've just been okay with him. I don't know. I've just been okay with him. If I sat across the table with a man, what dialogue would I have, hypothetically? With the guy who beat me up? Yeah, well, he's playing cricket right now. His voice doesn't bother me. I wouldn't sit across the table with him and have a dialogue. But I wouldn't jeer at him. I wouldn't sneer at him. When I see him on the street or when I see him on the terrace or something, I wave at him. I say hello, and I won't really have a dialogue with him, mostly because our vibes don't really match. We don't live the same kind of lifestyle, and I wouldn't talk to him as well. And Soobs, I was 28 when the thing happened, because this was just before the lockdown. That's how old I was when the thing happened. Did I miss any question? Sorry, how what?
How old was this guy?
He's a couple of years older than I am, maybe. Give or take. Yeah, like unka life alag hai, totally.
Okay.
No way.
Okay, coming back to something a little lighter. Tell me a little more about law folk.
Oh, wow. And what?
And are you still pursuing the whole concept of it?
No, I'm definitely pursuing I'm pursuing the concept of it, definitely. Like, the law folk was basically, it was based on collaborations. Like, in the sense of saying that you don't need money, you don't need, like, a huge amount of resources to make stories come alive, and collaborations in the sense that everybody puts in the best that they've got, the most that they've got, and joining hands, man, literally joining hands, come together, all hands on deck. Yeah, usually films mein ya fir in entertainment, it doesn't happen because you validate what you've done by how much money you're getting. Essentially, that's the count. And I stopped doing lore folk a while ago because people were like, Pune does not have that kind of discipline, I think, to keep on with things, to keep on with your commitments, to actually do what you've said you will do, you know. And
I want to introduce you to, because a friend of mine told me it didn't hit me right then.
it made what?
It didn't hit me right then, but I think the two of you should have a chat. But yeah, after we know this.
Okay, cool. Who is that friend that you're talking about?
I will send you the name and the details and all of that later.
Hey, okay, cool.
So you were telling me about how you thought it wasn't viable in Pune.
Yeah, I mean, wait, I'm just charging my phone, so I'm looking down. Yeah, I mean, in the sense that a lot of people in Pune have this idea of starting something, but they don't know how to see it through. Okay. I've got literally nothing against the people themselves. It just is a general city vibe. कि Pune में ये usually होता है. That's all. And
it gets difficult, no? Because Bharat nothing happens. So
yeah. yeah, true. But even generally, I think Puneites have this idea of, अरे नवीन का इतने का ओ भारी भारी idea का ओ भारी भारी, but seeing it through for 1 year का, I don't know. That's how shit happens. Because people think of an idea, they get excited by it, they get aroused by it, almost lusted by it. But when you think of doing something, you kind of have to think about the consequences of you doing it with the people you're doing it with, and at the same time, how you will deal with the problems when they come by in due time. कि 6 महीने बाद रिलेशनशिप में प्रॉब्लम क्या हो सकते हैं, ये अपन सोच के नहीं पढ़ते ना रिलेशनशिप में. The same kind of thing that happens over here when it comes to work. But at the same time, I think I was also at fault when it came to lore folk, because I was the angry young man at that time. I used to be very I wouldn't forgive mistakes easily, and it was in the sense of saying that I used to live chop chop, sure, but people coming together and working means that people's vibes matter more than their efficiency at times. And I did not understand that factor. I sure as hell didn't. Sorry?
Sorry to interject. Do you think it's directly proportional, your vibes matching? Do you think it's directly proportional to efficiency? Because I think.
Yes, it is. 100%. And you need to develop those vibes right from the get-go. Right, कि ऐसा नहीं होने वाला है कि सिर्फ तुम सेट पे कैसा वाइब मेंटेन करते हो उससे तुम्हारा एफिशिएंसी नहीं निकल रहा. The vibe that you have maintained right from the first meeting or in all of the pre-production meetings, and how you've projected the post-production to be, all of those vibes really matter with the vibe on set. For example, strictly talking about filming, or for example in the studio, like when you're making music or when you're doing any voice job or something like that. Unless every time you come into the studio everyone cheers, or when someone else comes into the studio you cheer, unless you got that kind of vibe, everything just becomes a drab, man. The artist comes in, everybody's like, hey, or whatever. That's not, that's not right. That's not how you should be executed. Because then the execution becomes complicated.
Yeah.
And your vibe becomes like your thing, which is your connect to people. ये अलग-अलग होना बहुत खराब है. I think it's very detrimental to any execution.
I would see it like, imagine a photographer taking a photo of a subject, and the person who's taking care of lights is pointing the light somewhere completely different.
Yeah, that's a good enough analogy.
And the photographer is taking a photo of the car behind the subject or something.
Yeah. I mean, very very often I think it's just about this कि तेरे साथ में जो काम कर रहा है वो तेरा काम कर रहा है, श्योर, लेकिन काम करते करते तेरे को गाली दे रहा है. is what really matters. Like, like this is in terms of those times when you're getting paid also. Someone's paying you a lot, but you don't really like the guy, and then it doesn't really work out. It doesn't work out for both of you. Like, simply in terms of barter or the trade, it works out. Ki isko kaam mil gaya, isko paisa mil gaya. End of story. But if you're talking about an art, any kind of an art, it needs to come with this bonus that everybody gets, which is either passion or like what you feel after a life at times when you sleep, like how you sleep at 10:30, how that happens, why that happens, that abstract which you cannot explain. Either that, or you need to like gain this sort of experience where you go like, okay, I really learned something of tangible value. Like aisa nahi ki just a few more tricks of the trade, but something about life, which I think really happens when artists come together and do that stuff, do any kind of stuff. So, like I'll say, today I'm still following through with the lore folk ideals, the rejuvenated self, because I needed to do that. The older, angry director guy, that was fucked up. That was not.
I do.
And
Huh.
bolo.
No, continue. I'll tell you.
And so I closed down Lore Folk a while ago. Most of the guys who were with me at that time are not really like close friends anymore. Like I said, over time we all move away from each other's lives in various ways. But now it's mostly in terms of saying that I look for vibes, I look for the right kind of connects in so many ways, and the people whom I can connect with, I definitely try and go ahead and do more things with, because उनके साथ काम करना becomes an actual joy, and it's not calm, and it's like calm, KLM, KKLM, that kind of
Yeah.
horrible jokes. I think you saying something in between. Bolo.
I do remember this video you put out, which I think you guys used a factory, if I'm not wrong.
A what? A factory?
Yeah, I think, was it a factory or was I think it was this place where you guys sat down and you were rapping in that video.
Oh yeah. It's like a friend's outhouse kind of thing.
Yes,
See, that's
something.
exactly where I went after I got beat up. That's the same place I went to. A small world. Nice. What?
This was Satay's place.
Yes. Oh yeah, that was.
I
Yeah,
think.
you came there also. Yeah. Right. So that was the place.
So, tell me a little more about what it was like making that, because I really enjoyed watching that video. There are some times where I show my friends that video also, randomly.
Really?
Yeah. Like, I don't compliment to the face at all. It will never happen. But genuinely, I really like how you work with how you wanted to go about it, and the words you've used, and your sense of flow and your sense of rhythm, your sense of screenplay, all of that. So I feel
Thank
like
you.
that somewhere brought in a lot of your talents in one.
Okay. Wow. Nice. Thank you.
So
Well, that goes. A
what it
lot
was
of the
like.
kudos Sorry?
I wanted to understand what it was like creating that, and how did you
Okay.
feel after you put it out there.
Okay, cool. A lot of the kudos for that video definitely go to my team, in the sense that they were relentless. We shot that entire video in about 6 odd hours, I think. And we kind of had this idea beforehand where we were going to make it a very looking, like, basement boom bap kind of vibe. Still not happening? Are we good?
Something. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So we had like a basic idea, a basic structure, and like I remember there were a few points which were which were tough. Like my DOP at one point, I went down to pick him up and he just did not show. So I left during the Nike. And then
What did
eventually
you
he
do with your DOP? I lost you there.
what sorry?
What happened with your DOP? I lost you in that bit.
Right. So my DOP did not show up essentially for the Reiki when I went to pick him up. So when I went on set and he eventually showed up on set,
I still
I
can't hear
said,
you. I don't know what. You need to know like the signal sweet spot in your house. I think it's a data network.
Hey man, I don't really use the phone all that much. No, I don't. I definitely don't do like trying to. Let's see. Is that a little better?
So we'll get to him performing in a bit after the story.
Okay, now can you hear me? Ah, sweet. Okay, so right, so I fired my DOP at that time, like right there, and I told him that, bro, if you want to be a part of this video, you can be someone's assistant now. Now you're not going to be a DOP. Okay. And he was not happy about that, but he took it sportingly. He realized that he'd made a mistake. He made me wait, and he did not answer my phone calls. And so another guy took up the shooting of it. And it became this kind of thing where, like, everybody had decided to do the best that they could in the least amount of people. So everybody was just there having a very bad. Like, people are not there for this idea, कि, like, career इसके वजह से advance होने वाला है. नहीं, Laura. Sorry. The point being that, like, we had in the video, like, so there was like one light on one left corner, one light on the right corner. There was one on top. And barring that, there was a projector. Those all the lights we had. और इन तीनों का light, there was a projector,
Right.
right? So barring barring these four things, we had nothing. So, like, ये तीन lights का भाड़ा था, which was $200 piece, and a few other things that we bought. So the entire video costed us and 6 hours of work. And in those 6 hours, we had one dinner. But everybody had got to home. We sat together like. So we sat together like this sort of cool group. This in a way is better.
Yeah.
Okay, now mouth side.
Yeah.
पक्का better.
Yeah, it seems better.
मेरे को मेरा भी थोड़ा ज़्यादा दे. That is good. Okay. So right. So at that time, a few difficult decisions had to be made. I fired a couple of guys, but they still stayed in, which is the important part. Then while we were actually there, while we were executing, like everybody was getting real tired, yeah, because of a lot of things, constantly shooting, for example. The DOP did not have a tripod. He did not have any gizmos to help him stabilize the camera. It was all going on by hand. So his hands were like rock solid by the end of it. There were so many people who were like doing a lot of like so many people in the sense full mila ke 6-7 log top come. So moving around all of those heavy in the video. And it was called the hinge because like everything was hinged on. So like the quest to answer the question of how I felt after it while I was making it. It was one of the most important videos in our lineup for me. And because like मैंने लिखा हुआ rap, अभी मैंने कुछ ज़्यादा सुना नहीं है rap करते हुए. And I'm going to direct the video while picturing it. And it was all so different, We were all really on our toes. That was one of the most important. We were all on our toes.
Sorry.
We were all on our toes. And we were all having a good time. And the last thing being that, we knew कि हाँ ठीक है इसका नहीं हुआ कुछ तो भी इतना बड़ा problem नहीं है. So like, everybody was happy-go-lucky in that particular.
Yeah.
So I think that's what really led to the video being whatever impact it had. I'm so glad to hear that it had that much of an impact.
Oh, I love it.
I did not.
Is it still on YouTube?
Yeah, it is on YouTube. Yeah, still up
Good.
there.
Yeah, good.
And like I think after the video came out, I felt really satisfied after we'd edited it, and it became exactly how we wanted it to be at that time. So I think I was like like my ego was nipples out basically. कि like hey, अपने को अभी कोई हरा नहीं सकता for a little while, that kind of feeling. But more importantly, the feeling of extreme satisfaction. Extreme satisfaction. ये हो गया है. That is good.
So I remember also checking up your other stuff on it, like the one where you guys were sitting on a desk.
On a what? Oh yeah.
Desk. So that was funny.
Yeah, that's our identity video. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. So have you been writing anything recently? That
Yes.
you can
Yes.
write.
Something that I can perform right now. Okay. Yeah. Sure. Um. Okay. Cool. What would you like to hear? Like a poem or like a rap or like what?
Whatever you can fit into 10 minutes. If you can fit both into 10 minutes, do it.
10 minutes. Okay. 10 minutes is definitely doable.
We're reaching our
What?
second hour.
Ooh, not bad. No, I mean,
We have a request for poetry, so let's start with poetry.
you have a request from
You have a request for poetry.
poetry. Okay. So then, would it be better if I read something that's written down? But you can't really multitask, like multi-screen of this, right? Mm,
No, I don't think you can.
okay, we'll go for the poetry in a little. Okay, wait, I got an idea. I've got it on my laptop. Okay, until then, I'll do a rap which I can remember.
Sorry?
Let's do a rap which I can remember right now.
Okay.
Fresh. Okay, there's a few of you who heard this. Hey, Ninad, I knew you were gonna ask this to Noble. Yeah. Noble is a poem that you read. Now can you hear me?
Yeah.
अब तो problem नहीं होना चाहिए यार. I mean, I'm out in the open. Okay, cool. So let's do this. This rap has no name yet. Again. But it's called Sugar. Let's see. Shall we?
Yeah.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go. Got a trumpet. Still blowing your horn, you're the president. Long before you're sworn in, get a dolphin, ride them waves like a sailor, but you got a better tailor, gonna fetch you in your trailer. So now I don't know how to fly, paraglide, but I'm on for the ride. I'ma try. You can talk, tongues grow, fungus in your mouth. I'ma sit around quiet, going bumper chicken pow, flump a chicken now. What you gonna do now? Do a holy cow, smack around, ponytail hat up to the holy institution, not to the phony insinuation, wickedy hand of the evil around, sinister many to count. Winners are ready to pound all the quarter-pound little guys. They light the grave at the fireflies, said it loud like a jet flies through the cloud, shiny metal proud, make a crowd. Yeah, everyone's allowed. No, gotta get up, gotta jive with the nerve. Try to build serve a purpose. Yeah, lift some, give some, and try to mix up. But the funny stuff said enough. Hot things got muscle, not blowing off muscle. Got my hands up the merge. On top of the world, got a perch in the search. Got touch the water, touch the third. Like bowling pins, kind of going ball of antimatter. Roll away from fanny patters, got some dope. Gotta ride, still get around in tatters. While haters chatter matters, handed rendered from their fathers. I'm a solitary son. I'm far from all the jibber jabber. How's that?
I like that. I like
Yeah,
that.
did you get the whole thing? Was there any break or lag in between?
No, there was nothing in between. I'm just trying to fix this. This light is too overexposed and I don't know how to fix it.
Yeah.
So, that was fun. Tell me more about Chernobyl.
Chernobyl. Yeah. Well, that's a poem essentially about. It's a poem about the becoming. You know what I'm saying? Like we're always becoming in a certain way. We aren't really. So it's like leaving an impact. Like you said to me thoda time pehle in the first half, like, what would you say to your 10-year-old self, right? So that's pretty much what this poem is about, that if you want to leave an impact on the world for real, if you really want to actually make some things happen, it's not going to be today. Your efforts today will not leave impact today. And it's not like the impact you leave today will happen forever. Like, will stay forever. So what you do today is going to build up and slowly spread further if you keep doing it from the epicenter. And that's what your impact really becomes at the end of the day. That's what the poem is about. So वो इसमें से laptop में से ढूंढ के निकालता है. But until then, talk, man. How was this tiny little performance?
This was fun. I'm just watching the time because I don't have the energy in me to start another video because I know we're going to go on for another hour if we do.
Shit! Okay,
But
so what's the time? How much time have we got?
we are at the 54th minute and 40 seconds. So we have about 6
Okay,
minutes.
so we've got about 6 minutes to go. 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Mm.
Math
Okay,
will
I'm
go.
gonna do this. I'm gonna do this as fast as I can. I'm not sure, but I think I might have sent. Hey, Ninad, have I sent this poem to you? Because then I can open my WhatsApp.
You can
What?
actually just yeah, look for it.
I think I've sent it to someone or the other. Just quickly. But until then, kuch to bolo yaar. Silence is not a very good thing. Are you really that tired?
I'm not tired. I'm thinking about what I wrote the last time. I actually wrote something last night. But
Let's do that. I want to hear what you have written right now.
So that is something I'm putting into a book. So I'm not going to read that out to anyone. But I will
Really?
read that out to you later. Like after the call. So
Okay, cool. That works.
So yeah, so that is what I'm thinking about because I've been trying to work on writing. So it's nice to listen to more writing.
You should listen to what?
More stuff that people are writing.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. We've got Shannon. I found it.
Okay.
You can hear me, right? There's no lag or anything.
No.
Chalo, brilliant. For the last 5 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, all those 11 who are live with us, let's do this. Chernobyl. We're all getting there, low and steady, if we let ourselves. Life isn't like a bonsai, a wise man once told me. The grandeur of life is permanent, like a giant oak tree. It's a sin to limit it for reaping a faster harvest. When you think about it like that, a subtle romance drapes the mindset. In practical terms, though, it crudely means patience. A burnt child dreads the fire. A shipwrecked survivor dreads the water. A dumped lover dreads emotions. And similarly, life itself dreads a cheater. Just like we fear differently, we learn differently. What one learns today, another learns in a decade. Today's learning could be unlearned eventually, but the one who cheats, who prefers a shortcut, learns nothing inevitably. We're all getting there, slowly, if we only let us. To understand the self needs to be put through the flips of a roller coaster, not shelled like scampi. For when the self starts showing up, knowledge starts pouring in. For some, it takes a victory. For some, it takes earning enough money. For some, a marriage needs to break. For some, the upper limit of being fake. But for every single one of us out there, LGBTQ or straight, rich or poor, intelligent or brutish, confused or sure, old, young, passionate, mechanical, responsible, fuckless, artistic, clerical, no matter what your parent, it's not so terrible if you just be patient and in the meanwhile, sentient. Every single one of us will prosper, and yet our communities won't suffer. We're all getting there, bitch. If we could only let ourselves. What pleasure do you get from quick this and quick that? Come on, you prefer elaborate meals because fast food just makes you fat? Improving, observing, building a character. This is life. It's not a value added tax. Humor me. If you were on vacation, it's quicker getting there and longer coming back. But when you're returning, you know you're going to get home, so you keep going instead of stopping or turning back. It's important to know that you will get there. It's about persistence. There is no skill or knack. Guide yourself patiently. You'll see that slow ain't bad. Maybe you should learn from Chernobyl how to leave a lasting impact.
I like that. And well in time also.
Yeah.
That's very good.
Awesome.
Can you send it to me so I can put this on my story?
Sure, immediately.
I'll do that. So this was fun.
It was a lot.
That note of leaving an impact, we're going to sign off.
Okay.
I'm going to go sleep for a bit. Okay. So, thank you so much for agreeing to do this for me. And I hope.
Thank you so much for having me. Such an honor.
And
Wait, what did you say? I lost you there.
I said all the people watching had a great time. And if
Yeah,
you guys,
absolutely.
all the people who are watching from my page, please go follow Siddharth, check out his work. He's been doing some insane shit.